A little bit of a late start, but we'll be okay on time. We don't have a whole lot of announcements today, but first off, welcome to the Seattle Revit User Group. My name is Rob Bendix. I'm the Seattle Revit User Group President. Most of you know and are here because we are a AEC community technology group with definitely an emphasis on Revit and BIM and a very collaborative nature. We always love to provide that free learning environment for all of our disciplines to benefit from, because hey, BIM is a very collaborative effort. So what better way than to have a group together that brings everybody to the table? So my question today is everybody digging the new website? Yes, every hand should go up. Oh, come on. All right, I know you're thinking it. Because your hands are full of food right now and you're just like, don't want to drop your plate. I get it. So, but yeah, it's a big change. So we're, Jamie actually here in a few minutes is going to do a little overview for us. So as what to expect. It was kind of a quick changeover, and it's something we wanted to get out for the past couple of months. We saw our opportunity, we did it, so there'll be some more mention of that in the next coming meetings as well. So definitely feel free to forward these and tell your colleagues about it and friends. And just because we have the site, just because you can't necessarily make the meetings doesn't mean you shouldn't be on it, because then you'll get a lot of those updates as well. So, of course, I've got to give recognition to our sponsors. All of our sponsors are executive partners for 2013, PPI Group, Ideate, who is our generous sponsor and presenter for today's meeting, so we thank them. Imagine Technologies as well. Our premier partners, Tetra 4D, 3D PDF, Canon Solutions America, as well as the Quarry Group. And our associate partners, firms around the area, Wood Harbinger, Freiheit and Ho Architects, GLY Construction, Mulvaney G2 Architecture, Ideate Construction, PCS Structural Solutions, FSI Consulting Engineers, and Inventrix Engineering. We thank you for your guys' support as well. If you're curious about sponsorship, please visit the website. Actually, the new meetup site actually has our information moved over there, meetup.com SeaRUG, under the Pages tab. You can see that information. Okay, so speaking of the meetup site, I'm going to bring Jamie Snyder with GGLO, who's our SeaRUG editor, to talk a little bit about the new Pages up. So,
hello, everyone. I've always kind of wondered what the editor on the board was supposed to do. I guess this is it. So I saw the hands. Does anyone miss the old website? I don't think so. I know I don't. Notwithstanding Alfredo Africa's epic efforts to keep that thing going, I think the new website is a lot simpler and easier to understand and easier to get around, and that's the primary reason we did it, was for communicating all this information, such as it is, to the group. I think it's a better format. So that being said, essentially we're looking at this as kind of the online meeting site, which is really all it was needed to do. We've got links to the YouTube channel, which contains all of the presentation videos, at least the recent ones. We're still working on getting some of the legacy presentations up there, and also links to the handouts from the presenters as well. And there's also a facility for discussing the presentations on the website in a more palatable sort of way other than the old forums. So did anyone use the forums? I mean, in the past year, has anyone in the group? They just kind of, they started out, you know, with a little bit of head of steam, and then they just, I don't know if Twitter killed them or what, but no more forums, but there is a place where we can discuss things. So let me just do a quick tour for those of you who haven't been through this. This is the home page, obviously, where all the meeting stuff happens. We've got a list on the members tab of all the members. Right now it's sorted by the people who visited the site, basically. You can do date joined, so you can search for your friends and colleagues and contacts on here. And obviously we've got a sponsors page. This is the most important page on the whole site, right? Yeah. Because obviously we couldn't do this without them. Links to their websites. Photos, I'm not sure how much we're going to use this. I mean, you all know what you look like. Taking pictures at the meetings probably isn't going to be all that helpful. But we'll see how this works out. I mean, we're kind of learning this as you are as well. Pages. This is where one of the links to the YouTube channel lives. I'll click on it. I'm feeling bold. So all the past presentations that we've got videos for are up here, at least for the past year and a half or so. You can subscribe if you want to get updates. It's pretty easy to find on YouTube. The handouts are in a place that's a little bit more difficult to find, but not too bad. Under discussions, it is in general announcements, I think. Yeah. You can click on this link and it will take you to a page that's got also the YouTube channel link and a link to the Google Docs page that's got the handouts. So that's actually, I think, 2 or 3 fewer clicks than it used to take to get to the handouts. That is about it in terms of the layout. There's really not much to the site. You can see who's attending meetings. You can see how many people are coming. The meeting reminders will be easier to read and understand. And like I said, you'll be able to comment and have discussions after the presentation with the presenter. Pull that. Yeah. There's already a discussion happening. So take a look. Does anyone have any questions? Seems pretty straightforward, huh? There you have it.
So yeah, these are some of the things that Jamie mentioned. Thanks for that, Jamie. Really appreciate it. Obviously, you can feel free to email us at the group as well, and we'll do any follow-up posts. See, improve our RSVPs. Oh yeah, you can add comments too. As I know some people did that. That was actually kind of nice. If you have any like questions or comments you want to throw out before the meeting, you can do that when you register, which is nice. Okay, sponsor recognition. Of course, obviously we can't do a lot of this without our sponsors. I think everybody knows that. That's nothing new. So we definitely, but you know, at the same time, we always definitely appreciate their contributions to help our group throughout the year and put these events on, and keep it a free environment for you, and bring lunches around, rent this great meeting space and everything. So we definitely appreciate their efforts. And this month's host sponsor is Ideate Incorporated, and so I want to introduce Brian Keeley, who's account manager of AEC Solutions, talk a little bit about Ideate, and then we'll get on with David in the presentation. So, thank you.
Thanks, Rob. Hello, everybody. My name is Brian Keeley. I'm with Ideate Inc. I want to thank you for coming to this meeting. See a lot of familiar faces and some new ones. I'm the local representative in the AEC market for Ideate. We have David Haynes here. He's going to be presenting. He's the director of consulting. Glennis Patterson just walked in. She's a director of software development, and sitting next to her is Ben Bischoff, who's our programmer who hangs out on Bainbridge every day and see him every once in a while. So welcome, guys. Afterwards, if anyone wants to talk with Ben or David or Glennis, we'll be hanging around. So I'm just going to do a real quick introduction here. A lot of you already work with us and know about us. Ideate, we're actually one of the largest Autodesk resellers in the United States, and we're the largest one on the West Coast. We have the largest technical team on the West Coast, and most of our tech team are architects or engineers who worked out in the field and now have come in-house and work for Ideate. We have a training center down the street at Columbia Center. We do training at the site, training at your site. We do web-based training, go-to-meeting training, customized training, whatever you want. We do it for architects, engineers, contractors, pretty much anybody in the AEC market. We also do a lot of support, technical support, and support for all Autodesk software for the AEC market. And we do a lot of consulting up and down the West Coast and nationwide. I handle anything to do with the Autodesk software and setting up, working with you to work with Ideate. That's my position. And everything that we have is on our website. The website's full of information. We have our own YouTube site, which is full of demos and videos on our software and also Autodesk software. So check that out. We also have, there's just a lot of white papers, a lot of information. You can follow us on Twitter. All of our techs post the latest information that they think would be appropriate. So you can follow us there. Most of you are using Revit. Most of you are probably on subscription. Autodesk rolled out a lot of new subscription benefits, so it's definitely worth your time. If you haven't looked in the last month, to go online, log in and see what you get. You can do a lot of analysis. People are telling me as far as rendering to the cloud, no one's complained about it yet, and everyone seems to love it, so take advantage of that. And you can also now post your models to the cloud for free, and you can collaborate that way. So there's a lot of new information. So a lot of it cloud-based, so definitely check it out if you haven't, because if you're on subscription, it's all free. Just once again, Ideate, besides selling boxes of software, we specialize in training and consulting for the architects, engineers, and contractors. Interior Architects, which is the largest interiors firm in the United States, they decided to go to Revit and BIM, and they contacted the 6 largest Autodesk VARs in the United States, and they went with us, so now we're training interior architects across the country. And as far as you guys with the Revit, being Revit users, we have what we call Revit 201s on our website. We have about 25 of them. That's where our team keeps getting the same question from our clients, so they've made these live lunchtime classes. So you can just look online, see when it's coming up, and if you're having problems with something, you can just watch this lunchtime video and it can help you move you forwards. So there's a lot of those. And we also have that with what we call premium support. You can get all 25 Revit classes plus live tech support for your entire office for $700 a year. So it's definitely worth it. And once again, our tech team kept getting the same kind of questions. People just kept saying, hey, I wish Revit did this, or I wish we could do that. So we took it upon ourselves to write 2 Revit applications, and now we sell them around the world. Glennis and Ben are the ones running that right now. So one's called BIM Link. Several of you are using it. everything about BIM Link. There's just a lot of videos on the website. Just check it out. It does a lot of different things, helps a lot of different firms, for architects, engineers, contractors, just everybody. So you can also download a free trial version. And we've also written Ideate Explorer. Once again, it's kind of a Swiss Army knife. It does a lot of different things. You can definitely help audit your Revit models, find all your hidden DWGs, clean them up, clean up your models. So there's a lot it can do. You can download it, give it a try, and if you do your subscriptions with Ideate, you get that for free. So that's another benefit of working with Ideate. So if you have any questions about this software, you've got the two best people in the company here. I know some of you using it. So basically, that's pretty much all I've got to say. I want to introduce David Haynes here. He's got a very interesting presentation.
Thank you, Brian.
Thanks, David.
So welcome, everybody. Today I'm going to be talking about workflow enhancements, and specifically I'll be speaking about some products that come with subscription and some other products. So we'll be talking about a theme of workflow enhancement today. Here is my bit of my resume for those who don't know me. I think the two key aspects is that I've been a Revit user for over 10 years, one of the early adopters of Revit in the area, and that my goal at Ideate is to help firms be successful. So here's the agenda, and the theme is about improving workflow. And so we'll be going through these agenda items. We'll be talking about the workflow in two specific areas, both pre-design and post-design, and how you can start to connect the dots. However, and I will also have some key takeaway slides, so I'll pause on those also for some other things that you should know about. So the notion is how to improve workflow efficiency in the work you do right now. Is that right now firms are struggling with how to connect all the dots in their workflow. Probably your current workflow has several different products. Maybe you're using SketchUp for your early part of the design. Maybe you have issues about how to take care of early marketing stuff that you have to do, and then how does it work in the field. We'll be talking about those kind of items today. So as part of the 2014 suites, Autodesk has added additional products. So this is a PDF that comes right off the Autodesk website with some modifications. I just cut off the suites that don't deal with the AEC industry. And specifically, as part of my discussion today, I'll be talking about these two additional products that come in. So for those of you who can't see, sorry if it's a little hard to see, is that as part of the Building Design Suite, which is probably what most of you have, you get two products that I've highlighted in red, which is Autodesk ReCap and Autodesk InfraWorks. And if you have Infrastructure Design Suite, then you get them in another kind of package. These all come as part of the subscription and suite work that you do. So the first key takeaway is, how many of you understand that you have an Autodesk login that you use? Everybody know that? Some don't. So every user can either get an Autodesk login or have one already. A lot of what I'm going to be talking about has either a cloud-based element or a file storage area. And so the place to get this information is going and deposit it is going to be through Autodesk 360. There is no cost to you. They take a relative minimal amount of information, and that gets you the sign-in portion of it. So if you don't have a login, it's probably best to get one today. All right, so let's talk about pre-design, which I'm going to call existing conditions, or what was termed by me by an architect recently, sense of place. And so how right now are you getting that information? Some of you may be waiting for a surveyor to do the work for you, meaning I'm going to wait till the surveyor gives me all the work, and I'll maybe use SketchUp or hand drawings, and then when I get the survey information, then I'll bring that into Revit and move forward. Maybe some of you are using a tape measure and some existing scenarios to try and do things, and then for all of us who are over a certain age, maybe you're taking all that information and putting it on in red lines and trying to then transfer it over. That's a fairly inefficient workflow overall, because it doesn't allow you to carry that data forward easily and well. So Autodesk has looked at that and said, let's see how we can help customers communicate and visualize better in the existing context they have. So a product that has just come out that is part of your subscription benefits, and some are free, it's called Autodesk ReCap. Autodesk bought a technology about a year ago. They've included it in Revit to help with scan data coming in, but there's some other additional benefits that I want to talk to you about in that apply, because not everybody's going to get scan data. So we're going to talk about two aspects, the scan data and items that you don't need with scans. So the part that is recap photo is the one where you can use your digital camera now and take pictures of a project or the site and then bring that scan data in directly without the use of a third-party vendor in that way. So I've got a very short video that's about 2 or 3 minutes long that was done by Autodesk that I think kind of illustrates this process in the photo way. So.
In the case of a building, a first recommendation is to schedule your shot using a Google Earth view. This will help to check the possibility to access the various viewpoints. You'll need to take a picture every 5 to 10 degrees roughly, so about 40 to 50 pictures if you want to get the full 360 degrees of the building. Shooting from street level, make sure to select the right spots. Avoid shooting with moving objects in front. Foreground trees that would hide your building. Be careful also to avoid underexposed or overexposed photos. Do not zoom in too much. The best camera for street-level pictures is a digital SLR equipped with a wide-angle lens. A 10mm lens is a perfect tool. You can then simply walk around and stop every few meters to shoot the pictures. When moving around, make sure to shoot enough pictures to ensure a good overlap between each picture. Autodesk ReCap Photo will do a good job if there's a good visual continuity between each viewpoint. It's always better if you can capture most of the building in each photo. If you have the chance to shoot additional pictures from high viewpoints, such as from neighboring buildings, please do. If you use a compact camera, you can artificially create wide-angle viewpoints as well. In every location where you stand, you simply rotate the camera around yourself, shooting several overlapping photos to simulate a wide-angle lens to cover the entire building from each of those locations. Make sure that the photos that you shoot from each standing point overlap by at least 50%. ReCap Photo will then create the photo textured 3D model for you. You can add close-ups if you want to get more details and some interesting parts of the building. In this case, shoot again several pictures around these parts. The computed 3D geometry will have a higher density in such parts. One last step, don't forget to measure one or several reference distances if you want to further scale your 3D scene inside ReCap Photo. Thanks for using Autodesk ReCap Photo. You can access.
All right, so what that video kind of shows you is that you'll be able to take either a DSLR camera or just your iPhone or a pocket camera and be able to take these pictures of existing conditions. That doesn't necessarily mean that it's only for existing buildings. It could be infill projects where you're trying to understand what the buildings are on each side. Maybe you're doing a remodeling. So you've got several options. Yes?
So this looks like 123D Catch, except it's via subscription. Is it better than 123D Catch?
So the question was, it looks like it's similar to 123 Catch. And it has some, and is it better than that? It has some elements that are, but what the benefit is kind of near the end. And I'll go, when I get to the next slide, you'll hear a little more, in which now I'm going to be able to take that scan data and bring it into another editor piece that allow me to call and edit the scan data and get it down to its right amount of stuff. So if you were, what I understand of 123 Catch is I could take pictures of whatever I want, but they really look at that as more of individual objects is what I see most people using 1, 2, 3 catch for, maybe not. This is really 1, 2, 3 catch on steroids, really aimed at what the architectural industry is looking to do. Okay? It's a product that today is not on the street, so I want to make sure you realize that if you go to the website today, they have some information up there. It's coming out very soon, and it's an exciting technology that I think will help a lot of customers in the early part of their work dealing with it. Anybody see some value in this product? Yeah? I think it's one of those technologies that you don't know how many times you can use it. So most of the time when I've talked this technology to customers, they end up saying, well, we don't do renovations. Well, that's one technology use of it. There's many others. All right, so then the other part of this is what is the studio piece, in which then I'm going to be able to bring that scan data, whether that scan data comes from either this photo or whether I get it from Leica survey information, doesn't matter which way I get it. I can bring it in, and this is an actual scan data item that was done with Leica and brought into ReCap Studio. What it allows me to do is to quickly put it all together, because usually there's multiple files when you deal with Leica data, and in the same way with the multiple JPGs that you're going to have through the photo side. And you're going to be able to bring them in, and you're going to be able to turn on and off different pieces of the mouse so you can start to see what you got, what you might need to deal with it. You can also come in and look at it as far as different intensities. You can look at this data in a lot of different ways in a very lightweight and low learning curve methodology. This technology done by Autodesk has really assisted in making it easier and better for companies to use that data. So in the past, the scanning data would have to be all post-processed by the scanning company. That issue kind of disappears in this methodology. So I get a lot of different ways to look at this particular project in different light qualities to try and get it to so it looks the best. Then I'm also able now to come in and do some inquiry. What I mean by that is you'll see here as we move in, we're going to be able to do some scanned measurements. So I want to see if I've measured that to be a certain distance in the field, does it equal? So it gets to validate the information. In this particular case, it gives me some information. I don't know if any of you have done a residential remodel and wondered about what the roof pitch was. Had that on my own house. Here's an example where I could have scanned it and it would have told me that in this particular case, this roof is a 12 and 12 roof. And so if I then wanted to extend that porch in that way, I now know that the pitch data is 12 and 12 without having to scramble up on the roof. So you get to do a lot of inquiry upon the scan data to see if it works for you. Also, you also get an opportunity to add notes. So it actually can embed notes like, please check this dimension again. But one of the key benefits that I've seen in ReCap Studio is the ability to get rid of the scanned information that you no longer need. So in this case, we're using what I call desktop publishing or Photoshop kind of, where I'm lassoing this portion of the scan data, which is on the neighbor's property, and I can just get rid of it. So it reduces the size. I can then, maybe I want the trees, maybe I don't want the trees. I can come in and cut and leave in what I want. Then I will be able to deal with it, and I'll show you the workflow in just a second, how that workflow would work. So the key takeaway about this particular technology is you get to deal with point cloud information without scanning, and if you do have scanning, you get to do the post-processing information in a better way. All right, so let's talk for a second about that workflow of now, how do I get that information from ReCap, that scanned information, into Revit, which is where I want to be doing my work. So this is a screen capture from ReCap, and as you can see here, I've highlighted the blue export, and now I save it out in the file format to the RCP format. And then in Revit, it's just simply the insert point cloud, and then that brings up this dialog box, and then in the drop-down, it also has RCP also. So then I bring it in to Revit, and then I can work from it from there. So it's a very easy workflow, and now the key benefit here is that you're able to take existing conditions and bring it into Revit, and that data continues to live in a very easy methodology. Any questions about ReCap that I can answer? Yes, ma'am. How accurate is? Oh, you know, it's taking from point data. So it's in ReCap Studio, as you see here, you've got to be fairly specific about where you press the button. So you'd have to zoom in to find that corner of those two posts. But it would be a good way of validating some information. I don't know if you've ever done field measurements and you said, I wish I would have taken that piece of information, and you didn't. And what do you have to do then? You have to go back out to the site. And what do we do if we can't go back out to the site? We assume. I say fake it, but assume's better. And does that assumption usually cause to bite us later on? Nah, never. So this is a way to validate it. And I would say I wouldn't use it as, I wouldn't use it in lieu of a key measurement. So if you knew those posts had to be 8 feet apart, I'd probably still take the field measurement. It's still going to be better. Yes, sir?
What kind of point data files do you accept?
As far as the point data, there's a lot of different Leica and that kind of information that goes in to it. It really just, it has to be brought in and then it's changed over to an RCP. The reason it's changed over to an RCP is that that's the technology Autodesk purchased that allows us, when we then take it into Revit, to be able to rotate it nicely. If you've used previous scan data in Revit, you've noticed it's been, can I use the word clunky and get by with that phrase? Very clunky and hard to use. So they bought the technology which takes the scan data and processes it in a better way, so it's a different file extension. But you'll be able to put your existing scan data into ReCap Studio and then create an RCP file out of there.
What kind of scan point files will ReCap accept?
That's a great question, and I'd like to get back to you. I don't have the entire list off the top of my head, at least. Yes, ma'am.
For interiors, where you're sitting around and going through a classroom, one and
Correct. So the question was, could she use it for interiors? Absolutely. And you could use the photo side also. So there's no limitation on whether it's inside or outside. I think the same issues regarding the photo side apply. There was another portion of the video I didn't include that was done by Autodesk that basically said the same thing about inside, is you have to make sure you get multiple shots, depending on the height of the wall, multiple shots of the wall, and enough overlap so ReCap can stitch it together correctly. But it can absolutely be done for interiors. It can also be done for non-architectural items such as statutes and those kind of things. So it's not limited to, and that's where somewhat of the 1, 2, 3 catch also comes from. But I kind of limited to the big picture in the video, but absolutely on interiors. Any other questions? Yes, sir.
What does it do to your file size?
Question about file size. Excellent. The scan you saw of the cabin that was done was a total of 8 scans done by Leica, and the total amount was 1.5 gigabytes of the Leica files. Then it was put into ReCap Studio, and then when it came out, it was much smaller, I think about 500 or so. What the real benefit, I think, is that the ability, once you come into Revit, you're going to be able to use it to rotate easily. So it doesn't cause performance hit once it comes into Revit in that way. So it is less, but it's not nothing. I think Ideate, we're still testing. We're trying to get enough scan data in to it. And with Studio now available via subscription, you'll be able to check it out yourself. So it's one of those products you don't have to. You could try right now the Studio and bring your own scan data in. The part of photo is going to come out, and that's going to be via the subscription site shortly. Yes, Rob?
More comment.
Yeah.
Seems like the cost of, the value proposition for using a scanning service rather than spending all the time flying out, visiting, as-builting, seems to be, depending on the project size, seems to be really beginning to balance out, especially with being able to use some tools like these.
So what Rob said was he was talking about the value proposition of using a scanning service, maybe in the local town that you're doing a project, and that cost versus this value proposition of doing it yourself. I think, I don't know about you all, but in my projects I've always done, always someone from the firm wanted to go out and see the situation themselves, and they don't need to be an expert.
It could be a one-day visit taking a few pictures and making notes versus a whole week.
Correct. And he was talking about that the taking of the pictures and maybe some dimensions could be a 1 day versus a week. And the cost certainly is in alignment. Any other questions about ReCap? All right, great. All right, so let's talk about the next piece of the pre-design work, which is I'm calling contextual storytelling. And that's a big word that really means there's times in the pre-design work in which we in the design industry must explain to others, and stakeholders is the word that gets used. And stakeholders is anybody that's interested in the project, whether they have knowledge of design work or not. That could be planning commissions, that could be neighborhood groups, that could be a whole bunch of things. And right now, this is kind of the workflow. We go and we take sketches and we stand in front of groups and we may have angry neighbors telling us no, no, no. And we're trying to explain our design maybe in a rendering, maybe in plans, maybe through words. All of those processes can be, have their problems. Because I think we all would agree if we would step aside for a moment that most of the world doesn't understand architectural drawings. They may like the colors, they may look at the rendering and say, how nice, but they don't understand how it sits. So the common question I used to get in planning commissions is, how is your building going to look from my bedroom window? Anybody get that question or a variation thereof? I see some smiles, so you all have had that once. And how do you answer that question? Oh, it'll look great. Wait till after it's built. Trust me, I wouldn't lie to you. So let's talk about a product, and this is one that has a lot of controversy because many people don't, I don't say don't understand, don't see its application to Revit. And I want to try and connect that dot for you very quickly today. And it's called Autodesk InfraWorks. It is included as part of your suites under the Ultimate. And what it does the best is be able to provide that contextual storytelling. And it has the additional ability of, in these days, of adding additional data to a model. That data could be anything from population density in the area you're dealing with to locations of significant infrastructure, such as maybe hospitals or schools. When you're dealing with how close is this development to schools, you can add these other data sources in and create a story that is going to be easy to understand by anybody. So let's first for a second talk about the workflow very quickly. Is that from and this works in 2014 Revit RVT, you're able to, in InfraWorks, be able to take a data, just click on the data source. You're going to be able to add what is a Revit RVT directly. You're going to be able to place it, and then you're going to be able to take this revised RVT file and put it into InfraWorks. And so the question gets to be, how does that happen? So this is just a very quick example in which this is the city of San Francisco that has been modeled up by Autodesk from a lot of different sources. You wouldn't need to do this big of a city. And so the workflow goes like this. I've got a project. I'm going to be putting it on this site that's near the bay. And how does that site look when I add my Revit model, and what can I see from it? So we're just working through the process of attaching the Revit model in. And we get to place it dynamically in this particular example. And in fact, here's the scan data that I actually had before, so you can actually bring in scan data additionally. And so it places it, and now imagine if you were one of the stakeholders. Maybe you're the owner. Maybe you're the historical preservation company or district that's involved in this. How would that project look, and what could I see from it? So I've been able to take scan data. I've been able to bring it into InfraWorks. I've been able to take existing data, including Google Maps and other issues such as that, bring it in, and now be able to talk about it in a way that the stakeholders can really understand in a very simple way. And it's part of your suites right now, and you're able to use it. Additionally, Additionally, you can, and I have my iPad here, which I'll use later on. Also, InfraWorks is part of the apps that are included on the iPad, in which now I can actually take it out to those neighborhood groups in front of smaller neighborhood groups and actually start to show it. So the key takeaway about storytelling in this for users who are interested in InfraWorks is it has several key aspects that I think are really important. It allows you to get design feed input, so you can actually get stakeholder input that is done, very similar to the meetup, in which in meetup you're able to put some questions. Here, the neighbors could actually tell you what their problems are earlier in the process. You can actually do multiple proposals, and you can also get more than one data source. All right, any questions about InfraWorks that you might have? It's an interesting technology. It's not for every firm. It's one of those for firms who are dealing with urban planning or have issues where they're doing projects with a lot of stakeholder input. It's a technology that I invite you to start looking at. All right, so now let's go to the other bracketed end of this, and let's go to the post-design. And this is where I think the most exciting work is being done. Now, how presently is your post-design work being done? Do you have when you go out to the job site and you have questions from the contractor, you've got them scribbled on the page and you're taking the big roll of drawings out there and then running back to the office and hoping somebody can, deal with them. And so Autodesk has looked at this and talked again about the three issues of communication, visualization, and collaboration, and said there is a methodology where tablets are being used presently on the job sites, and how can the information that we create in the pre-design and design phase and working drawing stage be pushed out to the post-design phase. So Autodesk has bought a product called Horizontal Glue that they've renamed Autodesk BIM 360 Glue, and this is what, if some of you were at the Scott D. Davis presentation 2 months ago? 2 months ago? 2 months ago. He tried to show this. I'll try not to have my laptop bomb like his does. I'll do my best. But he was talking about this particular way you're going to be able to have a situation in which you're going to be able to import 50 different file types. This is the workstation level that we're talking about. And then we're going to be able to collaborate in a way without a BIM manager. So BIM managers right now have to do all the collaboration. When a new set of files come in from the design process or post-design process, the BIM manager of some firm, usually it's the architect, maybe it's the general contractor, has to put all these files together and send it back out. What the BIM 360 Glue allows us to do is, through Autodesk 360, we're going to be able to upload all of our files to the cloud with some minimum setup. We're then going to be able to do clash detection, and everybody's going to get clash detection immediately. Then as we move forward, we're going to be able to share those models as we continue to improve on the design process via clash. All right, so now comes the fun part. So let me come out of here. Oh, it's right here. All right. So this is the BIM 360 Glue website, in which there's an administrator that's involved, and that administrator, like you would imagine in Buzzsaw, would be able to allow certain people to access certain projects. You can have multiple projects on the same site. And as you can see here, I have two particular projects that I've put up here. So let's look at this one in right, so this is running over an internet connection back to the Autodesk cloud. And as you can see from the interface is a very easy interface to go through. There's not a lot of ribbons and panels. I'm able to use common Autodesk kind of tools like the cube to be able to come around and swing this around. And some of you may be better at doing these cubes than I am, trust me. I can use my mouse to zoom in. All right, so as you can imagine, Let me tilt this down a little bit. There we go. So let's suppose as part of this, as part of the lead architect on this, I'm very concerned after all was said and done that the structural engineer had given me enough of a pathway in this particular example. So I can measure from point to point, just like, you see here how the lady was asking me about preciseness. Here in BIM 360 Glue, if you notice, it actually, if I zoom in just a little farther, it actually will find that corner for me and give my dimensions to me. Whether that's good or wrong, kind of, it's up to me. I'm also able to look at the different models, any of the different views. So there may not be any views in this particular one. I'm able to look at the activities that have gone on, who's done what. So people have asked me for a long time, I want to know who's involved with the model, when, and how. I've been the only one in this so far. And then I can also do attachments, and I can also do clashes based upon multiple models. So if there was more than one model in here, that would be fine. So this works anybody familiar with Navisworks? This works in a very similar methodology to Navisworks. Now this is all being sent up to the cloud. So I could be doing this from home because I've got a meeting, and then it gives me all these clashes that I can deal with. I can group them, very similar to Navisworks in that way. I can also do markups, if I didn't mention that before. I can also look at a particular element and get the view properties of it. So I can come in. So one of the key aspects you need to understand about Glue is it's actually creating DWIFs. So it actually creates DWIFs for us. And that's what it's doing to find this information. So I get asked the question about how does that work within Revit? So let me I didn't load this up before, so it'll take me just a second to load up Revit. Let me just load this one up. So maybe I'm part of an integrated team, and there's interest in me loading up the latest model here. I just go into add-ins. Here it is as Glue. It asks me, of course, again, to sign in because it's pushing it to the cloud. All right. Now it asks me to select which views I want, so I can either take additional views. Maybe I want to, that's the one that they're interested in today. And now it's pushing it to. Oops, let's just select a host. Which project do I want to stick it into? And I can create folders, which I don't need to do today. So I have the ability to get that information. This is all done in a way that I don't have to have a great big meeting and revolves around, and it gets to democratize, as I call it, the BIM coordination process, in which the democratization that I'm talking about is twofold. Is A, everybody gets access to all the information in real time, and secondly is everybody else then knows what information I'm pushing up through the activities side. So it allows you easily to find that. And now let me come back into here and come back into here. And there you can see automatically it's there. And now maybe I'm the owner in this particular situation, and I want to see how this looks. And I can do it in that way. All right. Then additionally, come back to here. So I just sort of walked you through this workflow. which is the workflow we just sort of went through. So now what I'd like to do is show you how this might work, and this is where the fun begins. This is where Scott ran into his problem. All right. There it is. All right. So here it is on my iPad, and here are all the relevant Autodesk apps that are available. Not all of them, but the ones that I've downloaded. And as you can see, InfraWorks is on there, but I want to go to BIM 360 Glue. Here it loads up exactly what I had before. All I would need to have is an internet connection. However, I can do this offline also. So if it's already been downloaded at the office, I could go out on the job site and it'll allow for an offline model to be included. Let's make sure I have. I was in the wrong one. There we go. There we are. Here's that same model. I can use the classic Apple kind of uses of. Plus, you'll see right down in the lower right-hand corner, I can use this, what I call joystick, or whatever you want to call it, to move around the model. So they've really improved the moving of it. Okay. I can also touch on any part, and I can do several things with it, like I can find out information. So if somebody wants to know what that's about, I can. Maybe I want to hide it to see what's behind it. I can certainly do that. But one of the things I find most fascinating is the use of, and I'm going to have to lift up the screen here, is, so let's suppose I'm actually on the job site and I'm wanting to see what the building will eventually look like, or I want to discuss with the owner some questions. I can lift up the iPad and start to use the gyroscope within the iPad to start to use it in that way. Very cool technology in the way that I can start to look at things easier. Questions about what I've shown you regarding BIM 360 Glue?
That's a free app.
The app is a free app. The workstation side is a metered service. And so the way to get products up to the app is through the workstation. All right. Sorry, one more time with the question. I keep dealing with my technology.
Do you use cloud points to upload it? How does it work?
Do I use cloud points to?
Cloud credits, yeah.
No, not presently. So right now, cloud credits, so while the cloud credits are being discussed, I want to adjust what Brian said slightly, is that cloud credits are being used presently for two types of processes. One is rendering, is now requiring cloud credits, and some of the simulation work and structural simulation work requires cloud credits at this time. So this doesn't. And it went black. Gotta love that. Let me do the following. There we go. And we talked about this. So let's sort of finish this up with talking about the three workflows. Is with Autodesk ReCap, you get end-to-end workflow to increase efficiency by documenting your real-world information. You can export to Revit to continue your work. And the focus, I think, is on as-built modeling, sense of place, and urban and infill. InfraWorks is really about a storytelling, and you can import from Revit. And then I didn't mention, but isn't part of this, you can also export from InfraWorks to Civil 3D if you're wanting to deal with road design and the like. And then lastly, BIM 360 Glue, which really reduces the problem in the communication loop, in which you get multidisciplinary coordination and just-in-time job site. Lastly, before I finish, I want to talk about one last technology that I think is really coming on strong. This is iFormat, and it's based on the iPad also. This really starts the ability that you have to do very much mass modeling inside of iFormat. Then you're able to take that information through Autodesk 360 and then bring it into Revit. And it keeps that information. This is a product that's really moving fast in the Autodesk world. It's now in version 2. Version 3, I understand, is coming out, and they're heading towards a version in which you'll be able to round trip the information. So for those of you who are using SketchUp as your main starting point, this is a technology to start to pay some attention to, because I think it's an ability to keep the data going all the way through so much better. So what does the future hold? We really at Ideate believe it's all about the data, and that data's king. So your AE team can either be an integrator of disparate data, models, and stakeholders, and with architects being integrated into the facility management side of data integration, we see a lot of promise in that. Or are AEC firms simply left to be the dictators of style and stampers of documentation for local building departments? I really believe as an architect, we're at a crossroads in our profession in which we can either grab a hold of what the future brings, which is all about the data, or retreat back into our world of sketches and stamping as being the sole source. Anyway, any last questions before we do the raffle? No questions. Okay. You want me to pull it out?
Oh.
If I pull out Brian Keeley's, then that'll be a problem, won't it?
That would be a big problem. Actually, that would be very interesting, because I don't think you put one in here. So
All right.
that'd make it even better.
That would be better.
Okay, so, well, let's see, David, so you pull out two of them there, but I wanted to, first of all, thanks, David, and thank you to Ideate for sponsoring this month.
Here's the two.
And let's see, so with the meetup site, actually, what's nice is that if you do have any questions, I mean, you're going back to the office or whatever, or something pops up, one thing that's nice about the site, you can go add comments to it, post a couple of questions. I'm sure Dave will check it out for a day or two just to see what comes up and try to respond to those. So that's really nice for the meetup site. Also, make sure that you pass the word along. We'll be having some emails, some follow-up emails from the old SeaRUG account come out, just a little blast to just remind people, because like I mentioned earlier, just because you may not be able to make the meetings, or somebody's listening to this presentation online and you're in a different state, it doesn't really matter, because you can still get up to date on all this information that's coming out and see it and give feedback and just kind of be part of the conversation. So you don't necessarily have to be here in person all the time to be part of the website and be part of the group. So let's see. Other than that, our next meeting is going to be June 19th. Can't believe I'm saying June already. But at least the sun's out. At least it's getting nicer, that's for sure. There's some sandwiches. If you didn't get enough, feel free to help yourself. And our winners are... Oh, did you have some?
Elizabeth's here. Elizabeth Shaler.
The what?
No, Elizabeth Shaler with Autodesk is here.
Oh, we want to introduce a special guest?
There. She's not here.
Where's she at? Oh, Elizabeth. Oh, you want to stand up and... Yes, thank you. So if you want to see your local Northwest Autodesk rep, meet her really quick. She'll be around hanging out. Thank you for sneaking in. Okay, so our winners are 2 gift cards. Cameron from Inventrix. All right. And let's see, Kathy Williams. All right. Okay. Well, thank you, everybody. Feel free to hang out. Like I said, have some food. If you want to ask any questions to David, Ideate's here as well. And Ben and Glennis are here, too, from Ideate. So Ben Bischoff's the man. This is the guy that did a lot of the heavy lifting behind Ideate Explorer and BIM Link. Thank you.